Mr. Ndimande, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You are finally retiring next year.
Yes.
Take us through your journey in the local authority. When did you start?
Well, I started in 1982, December 1982. But before I come to that, I just want to share with you something that I did before. I think the town clerk was at Meets, and they were looking for a new town clerk. I applied for that post straight from school because I thought a town clerk is just a clerk, you know. I think at that time they engaged Ndubiwa as a town clerk designate. You know, they did a funny thing for me. They called me, they said, now look, you are too young and too uneducated for this post, but we've taken your application to the tower block. That's where the clerk you are looking for is. So I came over here, but my real start at council was in 1982 when I joined as a clerical assistant. It was in the internal audit section. We were still running a liquor operation at that time, so I was a clerk in that little section called liquor statistics. We were recording liquor statistics and analyzing data for the liquor undertaking. Then I rose through the ranks up until, well, I worked as a, after that I joined, I worked as an internal auditor. That was one other major. But before I go there, I was a principal accountant in housing on the 10th floor here. At that time, the treasurer then was Mr. Nyoni. I remember the lady who was working on the 10th floor before I got there was Mrs. Mlobane. She and Mr. Nyoni had put together a new, yes, the computerization, they set in motion the computerization process of the city. They had bought all the machinery, everything, and the system had been put in place, but it was not rolled out. So when I was on the 10th floor, which I think was a major achievement for me, I rolled out that computerization. So from then on, the city was a computerized city. This was 75, I think. Can I just confirm that? It was 95, I'm sorry. Yes, 1995 in October. So we computerized all the offices and got them networked properly. Then when I left that section, I joined the audit section now as the chief internal auditor there. I took that position after the late Mr. Donga, if you remember Mr. Stanley Donga. Again there, I enjoyed working in that section. I just want to highlight the achievements that I made there. You know, that section was not quite computerized yet. I remember there was only one computer there, but we got it. I got it computerized. I even introduced what we call a CAT, the computer-assisted technique for auditing. So we introduced there. At that time, there was a language called audit command language. Just before we rolled it out, it was discontinued by the producer thereof. So we introduced what was then called Win Idea, which was interactive data extraction for Windows. That's what we're using today for carrying out our internal audits. Then I joined the Treasurer's Department as a deputy treasurer, and then I was confirmed. I can't remember the year.
When did you join this?
Let me get the actual dates. I keep forgetting these things. This is 95. Let me see if I can get it. CV, and will quickly tell us that. In 1 August 2009. Yeah, that's when I joined as the deputy treasurer. And then I became a full treasurer in 2010, 1 July 2010. That post I have had up to this date.
But overall, I know what since 82 to now, you've seen a lot, you've witnessed a lot. What have been the challenges?
Actually, this has been a fulfilling job. Let me tell that in all the stages. You know, I have had a lot of ups and downs, but one that really stands out is when I got promoted at one stage within the internal audit section. You know, I had been appraised and my performance was not up to scratch. My supervisor then thought I was not pulling my weight, which would have been true. I was nice, I was young, and you know what young people are like. That appraisal did not reward me. It did not entitle me, let me say, to move to the next notch of my grade. Now, I didn't know it then. So, I couldn't move to the next notch. But then a senior post arose, and I was appointed to that. And my supervisor came back and told me, look, we interviewed you, we're happy with you, so you're moving to the next grade. Actually, you're going to be heading that small section there, so move to the 8th floor, on the 11th floor. After about a month or so, I received a letter telling me, regret. I got confused. Then I discovered it was because of that. Yes. And it makes sense that I couldn't move to the next grade if I can't even move to the next notch within my grade. But I was young and impetuous then, and I started making a lot of noise, but there was nothing I could do. But you can imagine how difficult it is for a young man to be promoted and then you're told you're not promoted. That's one thing that really stands out, that really hurt me a lot. But there have been very happy days that I've experienced within council, which far outweigh the mishaps that I've had, and I've enjoyed my stay here in council thoroughly.
Let's not just brush them aside. Let's talk about the major achievements. Something which even Abazulu later in time also says, no, you see city council, I did this. For example, you mentioned the computerization. Yes. But what are the other major achievements you use there?
If I can talk about that computerization just a little, that exercise was grueling. I remember Sisenza Iluveve, we dismissed at 3 a.m. And you'd be expected at work more 8. And believe it or not, sisenzile obhengula mbona sachayisa around 5. We just went home, safika sageza amehlo and came back to work. Sisenza computerized lapho. It was a challenging thing that I enjoyed doing. That was a major achievement. But coming to other achievements, this post that I'm in has been a challenge, you know. In 1970, we used to have our accounts on time all the time, up until our economy took a downturn. This is when about 70, when did we fail to do our accounts? Look, I'll pick up the date. We couldn't do our accounts for about 2 years. Remember when we were clearing our zeros, the systems, the computer systems, were not designed for all those funny things. So we started getting funny figures now from the system, which made it difficult to produce our accounts. Remember, we're now producing accounts straight from the system. Now you have to get the printout from the system, put some sense into it, get out the zeros, and it was a big challenge. So for 2 years, we could not produce accounts. And then this other year, we started spontaneous dollarization, if you remember. It was February, I remember it was February of that year. So we also started producing our accounts. We started with the rand, because we thought the rand was the reasonable currency to adopt, especially for this part of the country. But then we had to change later on to the dollar because we noticed the whole country. But then we had a proposal as a fraternity that now, look, we cannot produce the first 2 years because the accounts don't make sense at all. But this other year where we started dollarization, we only have 11 months. Now the system was saying, now look, you can't produce account for 11 months. We said, but then what choice have we got? Because the first month, but after talking about it for almost a year, we finally agreed that, okay, I'm talking about our ministry now. Okay, you can produce the accounts for the 11 months. It's okay. But then the time had... This is why you find we had a problem catching up with the accounts from then on, which fortunately we now have. But unfortunately, COVID brought us back to those problems of producing accounts on time, which fortunately again now we've gone over that. So this was a big challenge. And of course, the challenge of service delivery itself within this fraternity has been a nightmare for people in finance, because every department is expecting resources. Any department cannot operate without money, and there is not enough money to dish around. Then you remember when we joined councils, we begin to remember back when we joined councils. The money we collected today was not needed for operations today. We needed it 10 months down the line. So we used to have about 4 senior officers there whose job on a daily basis was to place money that we have collected. So so they would place it with the financial institutions so that we could gain interest on that, because we didn't need it. So you had no problem with paying your suppliers, paying your employees. We used to pay twice a month, on the 15th and on the 30th. So all suppliers were falling over their feet to deal with us because we had enough money. One other big challenge that we had, that everyone in this industry has had, is that of funding our capital projects. You see, when we joined councils here, by the way, accounting for local authorities is naturally ring-fenced. Imali collector for housing, you can only use it in housing, and so forth. If you want to use it in another fund, you must have a council resolution for that. And this other fund is borrowing from this one at interest. Yes. And you would refund this money at a particular date that you promised you would at interest, because each fund should stand on its own feet. All those boundaries have blurred now because of the situation we are in. That's why you find we now have problems of maintaining our assets. As you can see, this is not the ceiling, this is not the original ceiling. In the past, umuntu housing at budget time would tell you that, okay, I want to service this building on this date next year, and you would budget for it, and he would keep to that, and there was no problem. But now he comes to you, you don't have the money. So you find, by and large, plant maintenance has been a problem, which is why you find things are breaking down like this. Yeah.
Seems to be a challenging job.
Yes. Then I was talking about capital funding. You know, a local authority needs a lot of money because infrastructure normally is social nature. If you build a road and someone doesn't pay rates, you cannot say don't walk on our roads. You can't. If you clean amanzi lapha and I give you your water and you don't pay for it, we can't separate your cups so zinathayo ngale production. We still have to produce that water. Fine, singakuvalela amanzi for a few days, but again it is our responsibility to make sure you are healthy. You become our problem. So we have to balance all these things. Therefore, capital funding here to normally we get it from borrowings. Now, if borrowings is should have a very long nature. We have this principle of equity, which you cannot have one generation paying for all the properties for other generations to enjoy for nothing. But if you do that, the other generations, there's a responsibility. They don't have affinity to their property. You'll find what it is. Look at the vandalism around the city. It dustbin. Also, the law about dustbin. We put it today. Sasa like ukuthi bazisanga phela namhla mina I don't know. Sathi kumbe sifake ze plastic lazo ziyahamba. Sign, road sign. Yatshontsho. Everything about these people now
ownership.
Yes, very sad. So because of that, sifuna ki funding yethu. Normally it would range between 10 and 15 years. I mean in 30 years, I beg your pardon. Take for instance motor. Nxa sithenga izimota, we normally used to keep them for 5 years, and then we auction them off. Then accounting yakithi yayisithi yona, when you depreciate an asset, you must have a fund sitting there with that depreciation. So though it was called by a different name, was stronger than leli ibona ku private sector. If you depreciate, kumele uthathe imali, actual money, put it into a reserve fund there, so that at the end of the 5 years there's was joy. You can go and buy another vehicle even before you auction this one off. So that you'll find we used to auction fairly good vehicles, and if you were old enough at that time, my auctions that were very popular because the vehicles were good. So if you don't have a long and patient funding, it is difficult to run a local authority. You must build assets that will last long, and those assets should generate enough money to operate within that fund and make it run properly.
Now you are in a very critical position, which I know for a fact is also part of the recusals. You're a victim of the media, a serious victim of the media. How did you work around it over the years?
You know, my reaction to that is that I'm proud to be working for I don't know how to call it, but we used to refer to it as a righteous organization, if I can put it that way. By that I mean we were an honest organization. For instance, if we make a mistake in your account that benefits us and we discover it, we must correct it even if you'll never discover it. That's how we've been working. That's why you find even if your bill is a problem, we will definitely correct it. So that has helped us, that has helped me a lot to work around media, in that what we have been doing with things that we could defend. Like this example I've given of a bill, of an erroneous bill. If we make a mistake in your bill, it is our duty, not yours, to find that mistake and correct it. Therefore, you'll find that even in billing, we are very open. That's how we've dealt with the industry. That look, come, let's talk about it. I think you remember Sigu holiday in Lapa. This organization is busy PPRA. You remember I was saying to them, now look, if you want to have a meeting like this and you want to invite us, pass through our offices. Tell us what information you want, because we generate a lot of information and we can package it in different ways depending on who wants it. But it's all true. So come along, tell us what you like us to concentrate on in that meeting. Yeah, yeah. We pride ourselves in giving information. And the media, normally I've noticed, if you give them information, they will investigate it. And if they find it's true, they support you. And I think by and large, this city has stood up to that.
Now, I know there are younger generations which are coming, especially in the treasury department. What's your advice to them?
My advice to them is very simple. One, in this modern environment, you have to improve your education. When we joined councils, O level was king. But today, bachelors in this council is nothing. Well, we can talk about masters, but people are moving now on to PhDs. There's no choice. So if you are young, keep yourself up to date with your education. It keeps you within the trends of your trade. Unfortunately for us, our reporting framework is changing to what we call international IPSAS, International Public Service Accounting Standards. We were reporting not even in the IFRS that you know in the public sector, with our own reporting framework that was confusing a lot of accountants. So we're not moving now to IPSAS. And there is a push in this country to professionalize this sector, the financial sector, so that those that will be operating in the financial sector now have to be certified IPSAS operatives. So I would advise my colleagues within the department and within the financial sectors of the local government to get themselves professionalized.
January 31.
Yes.
What next?
It's getting old. Over the years, you pick up a lot of experience in life and within the profession. So I know there's been a push for those of us who have gone through all these years to publish something about these years. It is my hope that I'll be able to do that. And to also offer my services where they'll be needed on a advisory capacity and consultancy capacity. And then I'll look after my few goats and drink the milk thereof and then die. I have enjoyed my working years, especially in council. This is a good organization to work